Hey everyone, this is Simon with Caddis Fly Shop, an Oregon fly fishing blog, and I'm tying another fly for you today. This is a foam body gray drake dun. It uses widow's web for the wing and a foam body that's ribbed with black mono, and it has a classic vertical style wrapped hackle. It floats high, hackle's wrapped tight. If you're fishing slack water tail out, where a really natural looking fly is needed, you can clip off the bottom section here to make it float lower. If you're fishing for picky fish, you can certainly do that. I've really liked the vertical hackle wraps because of its versatility. You can just clip it right with nippers right on the river. This is a great fly to have in the fall here up on the Mackenzie River. We have a gray drake hatch that happens, and it's a great fly to have. So it's a pretty simple tie, and we'll get to it. Okay, so going over this fly a little more closely, it's tied on a standard TMC 100 hook from Tiemco. Features foam body, MFC widow's web, wing, and elk hair tails, which might be hard to see, but there are two tails of black elk hair back here. And so tying it, like I said, we're going to use this TMC 100 size 12. You can size up if you're in faster water, or just depending on the size that you need, and this template can be used for pretty much any mayfly done. The foam body's nice because you don't really burn through, or it doesn't really get very wet and like waterlogged like dubbing can. So that's one good thing about it, the foam body that I like at least. And so we're going to lay down a thread base right here to the bend of the hook back here. And the first thing we need to put in is this tail of elk hair. So this is spinning cow elk. Any elk hair would work. You can use kind of anything, but I use the black just because it looks like they're natural tails. You know, we're imitating these tails back here on a mayfly, basically. So this is black spinning cow elk for these tails back here. And so they're kind of hard to see, but I'm going to tie them in, flaring out each way like this. You know, it'll flare out this way and then it'll flare out that way. And so tying these in, I want them to be about, you know, about like the length of the shank of the hook. That's this section right here. If to measure, you know, they do have pretty long tails, so you don't want to make them too short. And what this is really imitating is this isn't really imitating an emerging mayfly. It's more of like a dun that is sitting on the water, letting its wings dry before it's gonna fly off. You know, probably freshly emerged bug, still letting its wings dry, and they kind of sit with their tails flared out like this, just waiting for a little bit. And often that's when they get eaten up by trout. So once you have your tails in and they're flared out and they're kind of even, you kind of want it to look like that. If you can see, we'll kind of clip this excess off and build the body up. And so for the body, I'm using this 2mm foam from Hareline in light gray. And then for this ribbing that was on it, I'm using this Veevus mono. 0.2 is the size for that. So for the body, you need to cut it kind of like this in a taper, and you're going to tie in the thin end and wrap it up, and that's how you build a taper without having to lay down a ton of thread. Especially with this Semperfli thread, you do not want to build a body with it. You will just burn through the whole spool. So we're tying in a little bit of this mono right now towards the back for ribbing, and kind of, I like to have it shooting out on my side so I can see it. So even though you guys can't see it, it is coming out of the very back. And then we will tie this foam on right here. If you have a side that's kind of jagged from your scissors, I like to tie with that side up because it'll just kind of get hidden when you're wrapping it, and the outside will look all smooth. And so a trick you can do with the foam is you can stretch it very carefully as you wrap it back, and that will ensure that there's less bulk towards the back of the fly. And you can do the same thing when you're starting to wrap it up. So I'm going to move my thread to about where I'm going to stop the foam wraps, which is right about here. and I'm going to kind of stretch it and start wrapping towards the front. And like I said, stretching it will keep the bulk down, and as you work your way up, you don't pull as much, and then it allows that bulk to build for that tapered body. And so now we can see, since we've gotten up to the front, the body's a little bit bigger. We'll kind of cinch this off right up here, and then we'll clip it. Next thing we're going to do, after we kind of clean this up here, is we will rib this body right now with this mono. And so we're going to just kind of do even ribbing all the way up. Gray drakes have this kind of ribbing on their body, and this mono is a great way to do it without adding weight. You certainly could use small black wire, but that is weight on a dry fly that I personally do not want. So I use this stuff instead. Super durable. As long as you wrap it good and get it down tight, it's not coming off. And it'll protect your foam too. So ribbing is a really common way to make a fly more durable. And so next thing we're going to do is tie in a little bit of widow's web for the wing. Less is more here because you don't have a lot of space to work with. This gray smoke colored widow's web is what this is. And again, you don't need a lot here. Whatever you pinch off, I would probably pull a little off because you really don't need a lot. And so we're going to tie it in up here and kind of pull it back if we can. And this is kind of what we want it to look like. If you have excess, you're going to want to clip that off. You don't have a lot of space to work with up at the top, so I like to kind of clean up what I can and make space. And so now I will take a wrap or two behind to kind of have that wing sit up and just secure it, and then I will clip off the excess. A trick that helps a little bit with this is putting a little bit of Solarez on it. This is Solarez Bone Dry. This will just make the base a little bit more firm. I like to put just one droplet in, and this will just make the base firm so that when it gets wet it doesn't splay out everywhere if it does get waterlogged. And so then I kind of like to spread the fibers out a little bit how I want them to look, and then I will cure it. And here's your wing of your done. So we'll just cure that real quick. Now that's going to kind of hold that wing upright even if it gets wet, because otherwise if it gets wet it'll flop over. So this will at least keep it in the upright position. And so now we have that. Next we're looking at our hackle. This is a whiting bronze cape. A cape has several different sizes. A saddle has more of like one size. So you can kind of see there's a wide range of sizes, and the size hackle I like to use is about a size 12 or 14 here. So I'm using this Hareline hackle gauge, and you wrap it around this little nub right here, and then it'll show you what size the hackle is. So this one's about a 14, and we're going to kind of tie that into the back right here. We did prep the feather beforehand, and we pulled some of it off to make palmering it easy. And once we tie that in, next thing we're going to do is put a little bit of dubbing. This is the micro fine dry fly dub, and the color is Trico. It's kind of like a dark brown gray. This will just be for the head of the gray drake. We're going to put a little bit of that on, dub the head up just for a dark colored head. We'll wrap the hackle and we'll be done. Not too much space here, so we're just laying down a base for something for the hackle to kind of bite into. It'll just help with the longevity of keeping that hackle wrapped on here. So use it sparingly. You want to leave some room to work towards the head. And so now we're going to wrap the hackle on this guy. You can wrap it as tight as you want. Again, the tighter you wrap your hackle, the more buoyant your fly will be. And that sometimes happens, that's why you gotta Make sure you leave some space to work. Okay, and so now that that's done, you either half hitch or whip finish the end. I know for some flies like this, people like to half hitch because you won't screw up the hackle. If you're careful and you just don't bite into the fibers, you can whip finish and you'll be safe. And we'll clip that off, and we'll clip the wing to a more acceptable length here. And so here's the foam body gray drake done. Features 2 tails off the back. Tie it up. If you have gray drakes near you, I'm sure it'll work great. It would also work as a general attractor, so let us know what you think. If you tie it, you can get all this stuff at caddisflyshop.com.